Hello and welcome to Monday Night Live. It's Yvonne here from Women's Fitness Adventures. It has been a while and I'm excited to be here. So welcome back to me. I say that quite regularly because I do go on adventures quite a lot. Let me just clean my glasses. I just realized how dirty they are. So if you are watching and as a member watching live, please let me know and let me know where you're watching from. And if you are brand new to us, I'd really love to hear as well. So I have recently returned from adventure in Greece, and let me tell you, it was fabulous. So I'm going to share some of the insights from that with you on this Monday Night Live. So thank you for joining in. And hello, Marie. Lovely to have you here from all the way from Noosa, and Sharon from the Gold Coast. We've got the beaches in Queensland. So that is awesome to hear. If you're new to us and watching, I can't see who you are. So until you say hello, I've got no idea who you are. So it would be lovely to know. And I know that over the past couple of weeks, we've had people who have been watching our Monday Night Live for years actually come up and say hello, which is really lovely for me. So yeah, please go ahead. And hello, Sandra from Sydney as well. We're catching up in a couple of weeks on our adventure. So I have recently returned from the beautiful island of Crete in Greece. You can't really see my tan, but I do have a tan. But with Greece and Launceston, nearly the same, Brod, absolutely. But with my being winter here where I am, it's actually a little bit cold I was trying to tan myself this morning out hiking, but it's actually a little bit cold to show off the tan. So, but I do have one, let me assure you. So I'm going to share tonight some of the insights and behind the scenes stuff that you may not know about from our adventure. So hopefully you followed along on the Facebook page and saw some of the antics that we got up to. Now, I'm wearing a little souvenir. I think it might be around the wrong way, but it's I always buy something on adventure for me, and these are little blue stars that are handmade in Greece as earrings. And bringing back the tan. So I do feel like I've got a few little supplies there to keep me going. And hello, Meg, as well. Welcome back. I haven't seen you or spoken to you since your adventure to Tuscany. So welcome back to you as well. So for those of you who have, and hello, Debbie and Lucy, ready to hike in Montenegro. So they were on our adventure last week. So lovely to have you here, Debbie, as well. So for those of you who have been on a multi-day adventure, you will know what a great experience it is and how much fun it can be, but also the importance of having an open mind, an adventurous mind in terms of things don't always go to plan. And that's literally how it turned out when we started our Crete adventure. So we arrived most of us met at Athens airport. And one of the things that happened to me was, for some reason, I didn't have any baggage allowance going from Athens to Crete, which normally doesn't faze me, except the lineup was so long to check in the bags. And there were so many, it's just so much chaos going on and so many angry Americans there because they had missed their flight. And apologies if anyone from America is watching. So it was a little bit tense getting there. There were 12 plus me on the adventure and our two guides, so 15 in total. And 11 of us were meeting in Athens to fly over to Hania, the capital of Crete, and 2 were meeting us over there. So there's intensity of chaos happening at Athens airport, which I think is just the Greek way. Apologies to any Greeks, but I think it's just the Greek way. Anyway, we all sorted. We arrived into Hania and we met our guide, Sophia, and who is just so lovely. But one of the first things she said was, Yvonne, there's a heat wave. And it's like, we know, we can feel the heat wave. And coming from Queensland, we're quite used to the heat. Most of us were from Queensland. But this was quite another thing to behold. So it was a drier heat. It was, I think, at that point about 38 degrees at around 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's kind of like, okay, all right, not a problem. Let's go to the hotel. So we had to have, perfectly normal for Athens airport, absolutely. We had to change our plans slightly. So one of the things that we say about going on an adventure is having that adventurous mindset, that things may not always go to plan, and that's okay. Whilst we intend to run the itinerary as planned, sometimes things are way beyond our control. And this heat wave came out of nowhere, really. And what the Greek national parks did was actually close access to some of the trails that we were meant to hike, not only from a heat perspective in terms of hiker safety, but also in terms of a fire safety as well. And anyone who's adventured with us knows also that we are all about safety. So we accepted that there was nothing we could do, and everyone was such a great sport about it as well. Because we wanted to make sure that we were safe, but secondly, we don't disobey authorities and pay the consequences. That wasn't what we were there for. And there also had been a high-profile person go hiking and not have a great outcome. And in the news, there were other hikers who had gone out in the heat and also had, some unfortunate things happen to them. So we took that all with a grain of salt, or not a grain of salt, but with, okay, this is just what we do. So we set off to change our plans. We had a beautiful, beautiful welcome dinner, and I think our welcome dinner set the tone for the whole adventure, where everyone just got along so famously right from the get-go, and really just eased in quite quickly to this Greek way of life, which is, relaxed and easy. And when the weather is so warm and so beautiful, it was not a hard thing to do, let me tell you. So the next day, because it was so warm, we changed the plans, and instead of our 4-hour hike, we went to their botanical gardens, which are not like any botanical gardens in Australia, and they literally have plants from all over the world. And we knew a lot of the plants that were there anyway. And it was a 2-hour walk around this thing that we did. I had to be escorted to the toilet because everyone knows I don't like birds very much. So there were ducks and there were these lyrebirds just going nuts in the park. They were all around where the toilet was. So like, I'm not into things that fly at me. So I had a couple of wingmen on my side to escort me to the toilet and make sure that there was no birds in the toilet as well. But the lyrebirds were really showing off. They were, really shaking their tail feather, so to speak. I'm not sure if it was for our purpose, because there didn't seem to be much other action going on there. And then when we finished that walk, which, as I said, was about 2 hours, and it was quite warm by this stage, and over in Athens, where we had come from, was sitting around 44 degrees, so extremely, extremely warm. And hello, Ellen. Hello, Karen. And hello, Jelena. So we get back up to the cafe area, and we were presented with the most delightful but lemon aid. It was lemon, and it was great. You might have seen my Facebook reel or Instagram reel on that, and it was nice till about halfway, and then halfway down, like the bottom half was so strong that we're all there diluting it with our water bottles, but so refreshing, unbelievable. Just pure lemon juice, I should say, with ice and a little bit of mint, I think, floating in the top. So it was really refreshing after such a good hike. And then all that we could do after that, unfortunately, was just go and hang out at the beach under some trees, and then some of the crew went to the tavern and just sat under the veranda there and might have had a beverage or two. So, it was going with the adventurous spirit and really just easing into it, because we had no control over our ability to hike or not. So we just made the most of it. And it's not too often that as women we get to have that downtime to just literally do nothing. There was nothing we could do other than just play and have a good time and swim in the water. And a couple of the girls, Debbie, one of them, surf lifesavers, so they just took off for a great swim. The water was so clear, it was lovely and cool. The beach was pretty much deserted. We were the only ones there. So anyway, as we kind of went along, one of the places, the gorges that we were meant to walk down, was still closed. They closed the trails for 3 days, which is quite significant, because one of the big gorges has about 1,000 to 2,000 hikers a day coming down that gorge. And they hike down the gorge and they stay in a little town. And the town is Agia Ramelli. And so they have volumes and volumes of people coming through this town. But guess what? Because there were no hikers and we couldn't even come down that trail, we just went straight to the town. So it was like we had this town, we owned the town. So there were probably 25 people in the town. It had hundreds of, not hundreds, that's a big exaggeration. It probably had about 20 restaurants there and lots of accommodation places. And there were probably 30 people in the town. And we made up half of that. So it was literally like a ghost town as we were walking through this beautiful town. And we had it to ourselves for a couple of days, which was really nice. It's probably pretty rare that that would ever happen. And so we hired some kayaks and we kind of hugged and found these little caves and stuff like that, and literally had the best time hanging out in the Greek islands. And yes, it wasn't the hiking adventure for the first few days that we planned, but gee, it was good fun. We all, just together found some great things to do doing nothing on beaches. And of course, we all came together for dinner at night as well. Now, let me say, one of the greatest things about a Greek adventure, aside from the hiking, which we did do, is the food. The food was so fresh, so unprocessed, so good for us. We relished the food, and as we went along, the food just got better and better and better. So the fish, we had fish, was literally from the sea that afternoon and to our plate. The tomatoes were fresh from the garden. The orange juice was literally just squeezed oranges, pure and fresh, like literally before our eyes. Um, the the yogurt that we had might just seem like normal yogurt, but whatever they did with the local honey, because everyone has bees, and mixed it up with the fruit, was everyone could not get enough of that. And then, of course, there was the olives. You can't go past the olives there. And do you know, can anyone guess, if you're watching, how many, and I'll pause a bit because I know there's a bit of a delay, how many olive trees there are on Crete? And Debbie, you cannot answer this if you're still watching. How many olive trees there are on Crete? Can anybody guess? I'm going to hold that space for just a little bit while you catch up. But the food just got better and better. And I remember going to one of the places, which I call the Arizona Homestead, up at Agio Ioannis. See, my Greek is fluent for the non-Greek people. We arrived there, and just the smell of the lamb that had been cooking all day. Oh my goodness, it was just unbelievable. And when the food came out, and if you saw the Instagram reel, um, keep going, Meg, keep going. If you saw the Instagram reel I did on Women's Fitness Adventures Instagram page, of the food, I just took this little video of the food that night. It was just, I think we demolished everything on our table that night, which we hadn't been eating everything until that point, but this night was just so beautiful, and the breakfast that followed as well. But what we did with the food was also we experimented. Keep going, Meg. And thank you for guessing, Meg. I don't know whether anyone else is guessing. Was everybody, well, not everybody, but most of us would try a lot of the different foods because it's all just so fresh and also preservative free and all oh so good for you. One of the things that we did in terms of food was we went to an olive oil factory on our very last way back to Hania Town, and we got to, as we do, taste olive oil and with lemon and sea salt. I don't know if anyone's ever tried that, but this beautiful, okay, Meg, 35 million olive trees on Crete for a population of 650,000. That's not very many people, is it? So what they do in the off season is they all go pick olives, and they're still all they have like a stick with a bit of rubber on it and a net under the tree, but there's no machinery that picks the olives off the tree. So that's a lot of trees that need de-oliving, if that's even the word, picking at that time, which is coming up in September. An enormous amount. But the olives were just amazing if you are into olives. So our lunch each day would consist of perhaps a boiled egg, some bread, some cheese. There was some nice cheese, a whole tomato, a whole cucumber. The guides we had lots of olives, and the guides took the olive oil and the balsamic vinegar and the freshly made bread as well. So it was it's just amazing fresh food that, can't you see our skin glowing from the food? And of course, because it was so warm, we're drinking volumes and volumes of water. So we were really glowing on this adventure. But one of the other things that we we discovered on the adventure, not only was our group quite, we were spread out in ages, somewhere between, mid to late 40s, right through to early 70s, is that it doesn't matter what your age, you're never too old or too young to start on an adventure. And one of our ladies one of our members who had been on a couple of adventures with us, had said to me several times during this trip, I really wish that I hadn't stalked your page for 18 months because I feel that I've waited too long. And she said, now I'm trying to play catch up. I missed out on some other adventures that I watched you guys go on because I was just watching and waiting. And she said, now I'm playing catch up. So if that's you thinking, I want to go on that adventure, but I'm just going to wait, take the knowledge and the advice of others, and whether that's an adventure of ours or whether that's an adventure somewhere else, but just take the wisdom of other women who have walked the journey before you or alongside you, that don't wait, because what reason is there to wait as well, because you just don't know what tomorrow might bring. But the other thing is, in terms of, and Paula, the trip was amazing. It was just truly beautiful. Um, and some of the hikes were just like stairway to heaven. I don't know if you saw that picture of the four of us with the beach right behind us. But literally, it was like walking the stairway to heaven. We were 600 meters up. You could see the blue sky and the ocean down below, and we're on a wide stone pathway up to the Saluda balcony. That was probably my favorite day of all. And where was I going with this? Just in terms of, yeah, the trip was amazing. But in terms of age, so we had, from mid 40s to mid to early 70s. But as we were hiking up to Puckness Peak, which is the second highest peak in Crete, and it's all reasonably rocky, everyone was capable. But let me assure you, there were lots of doubts from some the night before, going, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Could I, would I, should I, what if, how about, because, but every person who went was capable of doing the walks that they chose to do, and more than capable. And some of the feedback that came to me on the trip was, because we learned new skills as well, and we often talk about that our adventures are teaching opportunities as well, where we teach new skills in conjunction with the guides that we have. And our guides were fabulous, because there's things that we experience on our international adventures that we can't train for here in Australia or in different parts of the world, wherever you're coming from. So our rock skills, our trail skills for rocks, really came to the fore. And if anyone watching is on our Corsica adventure in a couple of months' time, using that training plan that we gave you for rocks is, that not only your 4-month training plan, but your 12-week supplementary plan for strong body over rocky surfaces. You should be following that. You should be well into that by now. Will really be a game changer for that. And so one of the comments that came back to me was that, I have learned a whole lot of skills. I didn't think I'd be learning a whole lot of skills, but I have learned a whole lot of skills. And this is amazing, because I've been with, different organizations, and I haven't experienced this before. So we often think, as I say, that we have to, as I have, feedback coming to me, oh, I have to know how to do that to be able to enroll, how to do that. And the answer is no, you don't. Just having that adventurous mind and that open spirit, and that willingness to learn, and openness to asking questions as well. Because, one thing we find is that the question one of us might have on the adventure is the same question that everybody else has. Like, well, how do I do that? What about this? What's the best way to, get stable? So as we're hiking up to this peak, so the second highest peak in Crete, and if you've seen the pictures, you might think it looks volcanic, but it's not. It's actually all from earthquake, and it's quite lunar looking. It looks like what I imagine the moon. So if you've been to the Pyrenees, or if you've been to Iceland, similar landscapes, although the Pyrenees has more green and Iceland has more colour. This literally had no colour this day. But so we're walking along, and we see these three men coming up behind us, and we're looking at them, and they're all wearing jeans, and they're all wearing t-shirts. I don't think one might have had a hat on out of three. One had a backpack. One had a plastic bag with a water bottle in it. They had sand shoes on, and no teeth. And the oldest one of them was 82 years old, and they passed us. They just passed us all the way to the summit. They got up there, they had a look around, and then they passed us on the way down. So it doesn't matter what age you are, it's your attitude, whether you think you can or you can't, then you're right. And so it was kind of a reminder to us that, at 82, he's still going strong, and you're very capably going very strong, and that's a lesson to us all, is that when we continue to do things that stretch and challenge us physically and mentally and emotionally, that we can have that longevity into our ages as well. The other thing is that, on the adventure, if you follow the training plan, like truly follow the training plan, then you'll be successful on the adventure, because everyone has followed the same training plan. And we often get the question of, how do I maintain my fitness when I get to a certain level? And anyone who's done a multi-day or trained for a multi-day or got to any level of fitness in anything they're training for knows that when you get there, you can't just stop and go back down the ladder. You need to continue with what you're doing or step it up by connecting through to some other goal. And so what we've found is that when people follow the training plan, and if you're watching Corsica, if you're coming to Corsica or any of our adventures, I really encourage you to follow the training plan that you've been given. And if you have any questions about that training plan, please be in contact with us, because that training plan is designed to give you the best the best outcome and most joy for the adventure, because you know that you're fit and strong for the adventure. So we kept going with our Crete adventure. We were able to resume our normal programming after the 3 days of heat wave, and it just seemed to get better and better with the weather. The weather, it cooled down a lot. It was still warm, but it cooled down a lot. The swimming was amazing. So you may have seen us also coming down the gorge. We had some helmets on that day. Now, we weren't rock climbing or anything like that. The helmets were just there for safety. Most tourists never wear a helmet, but our guides, like us, are extremely safety conscious. So the gorge gets a bit narrow in places. So we were just mindful that if anything were to, come down the side of a little stone were to bounce off or anything, that we would be well protected. We were never, our feet were never off the ground. We were never doing anything like that. But it was just a safety precaution. So if you were wondering, oh my gosh, what are they doing? That looks really scary. It wasn't scary. It was new skill that everyone was learning, but that was just a safety precaution why we were wearing those helmets. But it was really such a great supportive environment, because everyone was helping everybody else climb over bigger rocks, or, a lot of times we were sitting on our bottom sliding down the rocks because the step was too steep, or it's like, don't stand on that rock, that's slippery, here, hold my hand, all that sort of thing. So that really supportive and amazing community that can only come it can come anywhere, but on our adventures, it literally comes all the time. So I'm just going to pop a link in here. If you are wanting to come on an adventure, but you're not sure what a multi-day is, or how to make a decision about what multi-day is, we've got a masterclass. This is for members and non-members, a masterclass on this coming Wednesday night, where I'll talk through how to choose the right adventure for you. So this is not Showcase. You need to register for Showcase separately, which is at the end of July, where all our adventures are available for booking. This is how to determine which one is right for you. And I'm going to talk about, how to choose. I'm going to talk about trail conditions. I've been filming trails on all my travels recently, so I can really give everyone a good description of what trails look like. How do I know what gear, what weather, what type of people, all that kind of stuff. What happens, what's literally the lay down day to day, how does a multi-day adventure roll? And I've had some questions come in as well, which I'll cover off. So if you have any questions about a multi-day hike, and you can be quite specific or you can be quite general, please let us know. You can even pop them in here, and I'll make sure that they're answered on Wednesday. And if you can't make it, it will be available for a replay as well. Um, But, one of the things, because it was so warm, we were drinking lots and lots of water, which is great for us, and eating the good food. And, it's really interesting for our age group. So women of my age, am I 57 still, for a while but yet, that our attitudes, and I've said this before, towards carbohydrates, and we seem to have been struck a bit of a raw deal when it comes to the knowledge that we have around how we eat and how we fuel ourselves for adventure. And carbohydrates have got the dirty rap, but we need the carbohydrates to sustain us on adventure. Now, carbohydrates can be anything from a piece of fruit to a soft drink to a piece of bread and potatoes. And, potatoes that are freshly dug out of the earth, that are cooked with love all day in Greece, uh, can only be good for you. But we also need those carbohydrates to make good decisions. It's fuel for our brain as well. So we don't want to be out there on the trail fatiguing and then getting cloudy in our head because we haven't eaten the right type of fuel to keep us going. So if you want more information on that, we do have the masterclass, but also happy to, if you have questions on that about multi-day hikes. And for our adventure, there were all types of food uh, dietary requirements. And one of the questions we often get asked is, well, I have some dietary requirements. How are they managed? And, we do our very, very best to manage them quite well. Dietary requirements are not about preferences. They're about allergies and intolerances. So we manage those very well and work with the people that have those. So there were quite a few on this adventure and it all worked out fine. So we came down the gorge that day, and what was waiting for us was a beautiful called Miramar White Beach, because of the limestone, and a restaurant just happened to be, perched up high, overlooking the beach where we spent the afternoon. So it was literally, that's how it rolled: hiking, swimming, hiking, swimming. We hiked along to Sweetwater Beach as well. When we got to the beautiful town of Lutro, you can only access that by foot or boat, and it was all painted white. It was what you think Greece looks like. I showed my daughter the photos and she said, "Oh, you're in the Mamma Mia village," but we weren't. That's another Greek island. But the sea is every shade of blue, the Libyan Sea, that forms part of the Mediterranean. There are little springs popping up in the ground and in the water, which keep it cooler as well. So it made for beautiful, beautiful swimming. The rocks are hard to walk on though. But on Sweetwater Beach, I became the goat chaser because there was one goat on the beach that would get into everybody's bags. So I'm chasing the goat away from all of our bags as well. So it was literally how our days rolled once we got into the hiking. And there's a lot of research that says that when you are doing all the, I think I've said this before, doing all these new things, time slows down, and time certainly did slow down for us. But when we're in the routine of our everyday, time seems to speed up. And I got home late on Friday night, great uneventful flights, which are perfect. And today was just a day that sped away from me. It was back into the routine of things. I had some housekeeping things that I needed to do as well. And I've literally been chasing my tail all day. Time seems to have gone so fast. Yet when we're away and we're hiking, the time is the same concept. It happens like 60 minutes is 60 minutes. But when you're trying something new, the research says time seems to slow down. So I challenge you to think about that as well, where, you can spend 8 hours out hiking and then 8 hours at home, and, it's still the same time, but which gives you more richness and which seems to be slower when you're experiencing all these new things. So Crete was amazing. We had the best time. We loved being away from the crowds. We were away from a lot of crowds. One of the best things that we did, which is part of our ethos as well, is to give back to local communities. So all of the places that we stayed at, that we ate at, all of our the partners that we have there, all of our transfer drivers are all small businesses, family run small businesses. And for us to be able to, share small business to small business is such a great thing. We're not we saw big, massive 6,000 people cruise ships into the main Hania town, where people would come in and then go back onto the boat to eat their food and stuff. Whereas we felt really good that we were just, spending our dollars in those small businesses that we were supporting all the way along the trail. So Crete, yes. If it comes again, I suggest you put your hand up. It was amazing. It was fabulous. Big shout out to the crew that were on the adventure um, with, or all on the adventure, because they were really amazing, really supportive, really encouraging, just really nice, kind women, and who liked being outside for a good time. And that's what it's all about. So that is the Crete wrap up. If you have questions, if you're not watching live, just pop them in below. If you have questions about the masterclass or webinar this coming Wednesday, about is a multi-day for me, or how do I choose, or should I wait, should I stay, or should I go now? Lots of singing on the adventure as well. So just quick other things. Our TrailFit online training is back live this Thursday. Have I got a treat for you? So Thursday morning or Thursday night. We did add another one to the library, so you might want to jump in there. I think it's number 57, if you haven't been to the library, the on-demand library for them yet. We also have Cardio Boost tomorrow night. And I really suggest that if you have an adventure coming up, or you're in a holding pattern thinking, I might have one, but I don't know what it is yet, just keep that fitness going, keep that that training alive, because then you have a solid base and you can jump into anything. Then the leap isn't coming back from ground zero and going up again. So I really encourage you, if you haven't been part of those fitness trainings online, that you jump into those either on demand or in person. So that is it from me for this week. I'm back for a good couple of weeks before I go away again, but I might be able to do a live when I go away. So thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, happy to answer them, but I'm glad to be back, and glad to see you again. So thanks, and I'll catch you next week. See you then.